In this next video, we are going to look at the difference and especially the balance between scientific accuracy and integrating the game mechanics. We'll talk about the creative processes you need to think about when integrating these scientific elements into a gameplay that's a little bit immersive, making sure that the learning experience is very fun for the students as well. We delve into the technical aspects like game mechanics, for example, inventory management, realistic simulation of an actual scientific environment. There were some technical hurdles, but there were also some really cool breakthroughs. So I hope by giving and sharing our experiences, you get some value from this as well.
Like I use a coding paradigm, which is what you have in the game. They are like real life objects. They have their own life. So I have coded a flask object. I have coded a culture object. I have coded everything like that. Everything are objects that you can manipulate. So when you create a culture, you really create a reflection of a real life culture that has property like how many flasks in this culture you have, and all these flasks are healthy or not, or inside the flask you have cells, okay, and you have confluency percentage for each flask and things like that. So starting point was Tamagotchi. And after that, I added it's the core of the game. Okay, the core of the game is still like a Tamagotchi-like game. And after that, we say, okay, it would be very interesting to put everything that lead to this Tamagotchi core. Like you have to, if we really want to reflect the reality, we have to code everything which led to, okay, you have a culture, you have to take care of this culture. So we have to code all the mechanism, like you have to wash your hand, you have to prepare your medium, you have to wear like a lab coat, to wear gloves, not to contaminate everything.
One thing I was going to ask Antoine, for instance, is like, can we make sure they hang back the coat before leaving the lab? Cleaning the bench, you can't do that in the game because
You could,
yes.
but yeah, it would be too much.
Yes, it's an important question, and the fact that we use like pixel art things with really basics, we can have used like VR, like for the virtual practical. VR is a really good thing, and it has been a very different game, like a realistic game. But you lost a little bit the fun, because it's really close to the reality, and you kind of losing like the funny hurt things and live bar and things which are more in the game. So you have to find
A
a
balance.
balance.
a balance between real life and very serious and strict game, and a really funny game like just the Tamagotchi game will be very fun, but you lose some learning goals just with the Tamagotchi. With the VR, you will learn like real life things. And so it's a balance between game and real life, I think.
I think in the game that we created is a bit between what you say, the simple fact of the Tamagotchi, you have to come back and take care of the cells. But as mentioned before, we also created a level where they have to think about protection. So they have to wear the lab coat, they have to wear a face shield, for instance, when they take out the cells out of the liquid nitrogen. So I think it's a bit in between that we try to include the real life situation as much as possible in a simple one layer pixel format.
Yeah, it's a game with real science piece inside, like. So the first thing I have to think about was which kind of coding languages I will use to code this game, and where this game will be played. Okay, this is big things to think about, because the game have to be like in real time. It has to be available from a phone or for a computer. So I managed to find a game framework, write in JavaScript, which is a web language, to help me to develop the game, because we can do it in pure JavaScript, but you have no help of nothing. And so I use this framework, which name is Phaser, which special HTML5 and JavaScript things to write, especially for the gaming. So for the styles of the game, as I'm not a graphist, I think the pixel art will be the simpler thing. I can easily draw some pixel art cells or scientists, and you have plenty of online free example and free assets to help you. I also found a very good game which were coded in Phaser, which was developed by a Spanish girl, which name is Nuria, and the game is like Antenas, something like that. Helped me a lot with the inspiration of the graphisms and things like that. At first, we have to think about what type of game you want. Like, do you want like a Mario-like? We talk about Tamagotchi game, but it's like a Mario. You have to click everywhere, and the skill you have to develop is like a clicking ability. Or do we do like a point and click, like old game like Maniac Mansion, if you know, or Monkey Island, where you have to pick and to click on something on the screen and add a verb like put the key inside the keyhole and everything. So I tried to do a mix between everything, so to add like simple click action where you can just move inside the lab, and it's a mix between like a platform game and a more point and click things.
This is to assure that they don't have to focus on learning how to play this game, but rather on learning how to perform the cell culture. And there's actually a good tutorial at the beginning that explains you the basics of how to deal with the game, how to use the arrows, how to click on things, how to save the game. But this is really basic. So the main goal of the serious game is really achieving the learning goals for the cell culture.
What was very interesting is that I can understand some game mechanics and why all those game use like inventory things, because at first I have no idea that I will use like an inventory, but you have to put somewhere in the code and to display it to the player where is, for example, I don't know, their gloves or their flask. When you put it from one place to another, you have to, in real life, you take it with you, but in a game, how do you achieve this? It's like, for example, you use an inventory. So this, a lot of things came naturally like that. So I have to take flask from a cupboard and to place it inside the biosafety cabinet, for example. So where do I display this information to the gamer? So the simplest answer is like, okay, you have an inventory and with slots, and put something from one place to another, and the inventory just represents, for example, your pocket content or your backpack when you are in an adventure game. So, and it's exactly the same with cell life or scientific life. If you want to teach, for example, the students to take care of themselves, putting some gloves or some face shields, if they don't do this, they can hurt themselves. So you simply came up with the idea of using like earth that represents life, and it's the same for cells. They have life. If you do bad things to the cell culture, it will lose life. So all those like classic game mechanism came naturally because you have to represent real life things into a simple game. Okay, so our game is try to represent real life, and as you do some action at different place, I have to mix like a Mario game, like where you can move in your environment, and then to have specific action at some place. For example, the place where you heat up everything to 37 degree is the water bath. Okay, so you can move in the lab to show students, to show people that okay, I need to go there to do some type of action. So one of the technical limitation, and it's technical scientific limitation, we don't want to teach them, for example, how to handle pipeter or things like that. We just want for them to know the action and the order of the action. So, for example, we did not implement the fact that you have to not take your pipeter in front of your flask, not to contaminate it, or things like that. The way to handle different type of instruments. We prefer to put like action button, like split the cell, or add medium, or use the trypsin, or wait, and they have to choose the correct order. So it's more a choice. The choices we made to limit the development time, because coding a game is very time consuming, because you have to code the mechanics and you have to code the graphic that implement that mechanism. Another limitation is like we want the game to be in real time, okay? We could have a server where we save all the student data when they connect to the game. When they click on save, we can take the data from their session and save it somewhere in a server. So we did not do that because it would have been too complicated, because everyone would have need to create an account and to log in each time they came back to the game. So instead of doing that, what I've done is I've saved the data when you click on save button in the cookie of your browser. And when you came back, I take the old data, I compare the time now, and I compare it to the date where you save the data. And with this time delta, I can do all the calculation for the cell growth. So for the student, it's real time. In technically speaking, it's pseudo real time.